2024年シーズンに悲願のワールドシリーズ制覇を果たした銀河系軍団ことドジャースは、オフシーズンでも積極的な補強を続けています。過去に2度のサイ・ヤング賞を受賞したサワン・ブレイクスネルと5年総額1億8200万ドルの大型契約を結んだほか、攻守にわたりチームを支えたトミー・エドマンとも延長契約を締結しました。そんなエドマンが、日本時間27日に米国の番組にゲスト出演し、今季を振り返る中で大谷翔平選手の歴史的なシーズンについて語りました。エドマンは、
翔平、大谷は唯一無二だ。メジャー史上でも至高の打撃成績を残し、投手としての活躍を加味しなくてもベストだ。
と絶賛。その上で、
彼のクールなところは、それなのに本当に謙虚だということ。エゴというものがないんだ。実に練習熱心で、いつも態度を変えず楽しそうにしている。
と、大谷の人間性についても高く評価しました。このインタビューの様子を日本語字幕付きでご紹介します。
Tommy, I know you were on Sports Spectrum a couple years ago, and we sat at this conference and kind of talked through some things. But the moments that you experienced just in that past month, last month, I should say, of playing with the Dodgers in the postseason, it went to another level. Like with the Mets, like you were hitting in every game. You won the NLCS MVP. So I'm going to ask you two moments. The first is Game 6 in LA, and it's that moment when you hit the home run and you realize, like, this could, I mean, I could see that smile on your face running around the bases, like, okay, like we're real close here to being, National League champions and going to the World Series. Describe that moment, because a lot of athletes do not get a chance to be on that big of a stage and hit that big of a home run and then be named, and you're the NLCS MVP. You got all these superstars. You got Shohei and Mookie Betts, and you're up on the stage, and they're presenting you, the guy who just came a couple months ago with this trophy. I would love to have you just kind of explain that moment for all of us.
Yeah, kind of like I was saying earlier, it's an emotion I'd never really felt on the baseball field before. I think with how long the season is, 162 games, I really try to stay level-headed. I know some guys can do it. Some guys have big ups and downs. Not necessarily that that's a good thing or a bad thing. Right. But for me, I just can't do it. I can't get way high. Have those big outbursts of emotion. And what you saw, I just screamed around first base, and that was a huge outburst of emotion for me.
Is that the most emotional you've ever been?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Had to have been, yeah.
Yeah.
But and then after that, our team had been playing so well. It was kind of one of those things throughout the postseason where, no matter what the score was, we just had all the confidence in the world that we were gonna win that game. We got. Even in the game that we clinched in the World Series, we were down 5-0. And
I was going to ask you about that one too.
Yeah.
At that point, you could easily have said, "Okay, we'll just go back to LA and try Game 6." And it's nope. You still had confidence that you could come back from 5-0 down.
Yeah, and I think that just kind of spoke to our team and the resilience we had. We had a bunch of a lot of experience on that team and a lot of just really resilient, gritty dudes, and just having the confidence as well too. And I think I've been parts of teams kind of like that in the past where we just keep on fighting regardless. But I don't think that I'd ever been a part of a team that was to that degree.
Yeah.
So I think once we got up in Game 6, it was kind of okay, we're winning this thing, and just start thinking about the World Series, and that's what I always dream about. To be able to be on that stage and have contributed like I did. I didn't really realize that I was going to win the MVP until Kike actually came over to me in the 6th or 7th inning, and he's like, "What's up, MVP? You ready to go to the World Series?" And it kind of clicked in my head. I was like, "Oh wait, I've had a really good series. I got a chance to." Because we'd had so many guys. I think Muncy had reached base 14 times in a row, and Shohei had a bunch of big homers, so I was kind of thinking all those guys could have won it, but we really did have a few guys who could have won MVP. We scored I think we set the record for most runs scored in a series or something like that.
You mentioned kids looking up to professional athletes and things like that. There's one guy that you're teammates with, and I know a ton of people look up to, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Right? What was that like? I guess being in the clubhouse with someone who is idolized as he's like the Michael Jordan of baseball.
Yeah.
How is that?
It's crazy. He's a one of a kind, and he had, I think, the best offensive season of all time, and that doesn't even include him pitching too. But I think what's cool about what Shohei is, he's so humble. You know, he has no ego whatsoever, and he's works really hard. You know, and it comes in with the same exact attitude. Always just like a happy guy. Always excited to see everybody. I think that's honestly probably a big reason. Like having those guys, Shohei, Freddie, Mookie, they're the same guys every day. You know, and that I think having the leaders on your team who set that tone for the whole team, you know, it allows you to have success. But yeah, I remember the first time I saw Shohei though, like actually do something on the baseball field was I think it was the World Baseball when he was playing for Japan, and I saw him take batting practice, and it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. You know, it looked like a golf ball coming off his bat, and he was hitting balls to places that I had no idea a human could even hit.
That's awesome.
But he's special for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I remember my question now is that you know, being on a team full of stars, and you being one as well, how important is it, and how do you avoid comparison? Because that can be very easy to fall into a trap wise of what everybody else has, or trying to, I guess, selfishly ambition of having like I want to have that or attain. Like the appetite for it is more and more and more. So how do you avoid the comparison?
That's a tough one, you know. I think especially with baseball when everything's just statistics, you know, stats and contracts, and then you have a lot of, I think now being on the Dodgers, like you got so many good players on the team. So it's something that I think I definitely have struggled with in the past. But I think almost just like thinking of ourselves as more of a team, you know, instead of like individuals, which is a lot easier to do when you get to the majors. I know coming up through the minors I think it's even more of an issue when you're in the minors. You know, you're competing with those guys who are in your same locker room to get called up to the majors, and you're trying to accumulate stats rather than trying to win baseball games. So I think getting back to like that team mindset helps with that. But I think regardless, you're always still going to kind of have those thoughts in the back of your mind, and the only way to truly not feel that comparison is just understanding your identity. You know, your identity isn't based on your stats or the back of your baseball card, but your identity is in Christ. You know, and I think it's impossible to completely eliminate comparison from your mind, but I think always helping that be a reminder to yourself that the identity is not based on performance.
ファン・ソトがメッツへの入団を決めた現在、MLB で最も注目を集めている話題の一つが佐々木朗希投手の移籍先です。複数の情報筋によると、佐々木はすでにドジャースの大谷翔平選手や山本由伸選手、そしてパドレスのダルビッシュ有投手と面談を行い、球団幹部も交えた入団交渉が進められているとの情報が全米の球界関係者に衝撃を与えています。佐々木が信頼を寄せる日本人プレイヤーたちが直接出馬し、入団を呼びかけていることは大きなインパクトを持っています。大谷や山本が
一緒にワールドシリーズ連覇を果たそう
と呼びかける姿を想像すれば、佐々木の心が揺れるのも無理はありません。また、ダルビッシュが
共に戦い、強敵ドジャースを倒そう
と熱く語りかければ、こちらも心に響くはずです。この若き才能がどのチームを選び、新たな舞台でどのような活躍を見せるのか、ファンの期待は高まるばかりです。